Many of you have asked, where do I rent in Funchal? Where do I buy in Funchal? I'm thinking of visiting in Funchal. Where should I stay in an Airbnb? Well, we can tell you there are many different neighborhoods in Funchal. Today, we're going to go for a drive and we're going to visit the different areas in Funchal and go over the pros and cons of each.
Welcome to Track Us Down. If you're just finding us, I'm Monique.
And I'm Doug.
We sat down a while back with our real estate agent and we talked about all the different areas. We divided them by north, south, east, and west. And there are several areas in all those directions. There are 7 areas we're going to talk about today. We're going to start in the north, go down to the south, the east, and the west of Funchal. And we're going to tell you about every different area. We are also going to share our opinion of the area because there's what real estate agents think, and then there's, of course, what we think. So we're going to put that all together for you so that if you come to Funchal, if that's for a holiday or if you're looking to rent or buy, you will have a better idea of what works for you. Everybody likes different things. I think there's a person who fits every area. Let's go. We had a really nice lunch with our real estate agent and her agent husband. They work together as a team, which is a fabulous way to work. And we talked about the different areas. The first one area we talked about was the northern areas, San Antonio and Monte. And that is the first area we're going to share with you.
So this is the view from Monte over Funchal. The main pro here, as you can see, is the view. This is basically the center of the Funchal Bowl. You're up high, but you're in a sweet spot. You're looking down over all of Funchal, right in the middle. You have the left side of the bowl off to your left and the right side of the bowl off to your right, and then it just sweeps downwards over right down to the cruise ships. It's a beautiful view. It's a great spot. The other pro is the price. If you have a budget of around $300,000, give or take a little bit, there's more options in this area. So one of the cons of living in Santo Antonio or Monte, which is a northern Funchal, a little higher up, is that it could tend to be colder in this area. It also, you have to worry about dampness as you move higher and higher up. That is one of the concerns that our real estate agent brought up that you have to take into consideration. We've done our own driving around Santo Antonio and Monte. We have friends who live in Monte and our vet is located in Santo Antonio. And we actually really like both these areas. It's actually a really big area too, because we're up right now, as you can see, high in Monte, overlooking the cruise ships. But HVM, the Hospital Veterinarios de Madeira, is actually much lower, but it's still considered the same area. It's just more of a central part of the bowl. A little bit lower, a little bit higher, but central. And we're seeing a lot of places in both these areas that are being renovated, that people are taking. As we drive by week after week, we see that somebody has bought it and has started beautiful renovations. Where to next? We are off to the south to São Pedro and Sé. Sé. The next place that we talked about with our real estate agents was São Pedro and Sé. It's called the south part, but really it encompasses Old Town, downtown. It's where all the action is. Here we are. It's very busy right now. And our agent talked about the pros and cons of this area.
The pros of living in São Pedro and Sé is that you are near everything. You are right down in the heart of the action. You are near all services, all amenities, and the great part is the weather is really, really nice here. If you are looking for an apartment, the starting price to buy is around $300K in this area, and if you're looking for a home, about $400K as a starting price.
Of course, with any area, there's some cons. With all the traffic down here and all the people, it's a lot noisier. And you might get a bit more pollution, but really, we don't really notice pollution here in Funchal or on Madeira, but I guess that's a consideration with all the cars and the congestion and the people. It could be noise pollution as well.
What we love about both these areas down here is the weather. It always seems to be sunny down here, and if you live a little higher up, it's always nice to come down here to the nice weather. And of course, all the amenities, the shopping, the sights, everything is right here.
If you want to feel urban in Funchal, this is the place to be. You step outside your door and you are amongst so many people on any given day. And of course, another con with that is when the cruise ships come in, if there's 4 or 5 cruise ships in here, you're talking about 10,000 people with backpacks and tilly hats and very white legs walking around.
So you have to decide for yourself if you want a quieter area or a more busy area.
Next, we're off to São Martinho.
Do you have a specific skill you're trying to learn? Skillshare is the perfect place to start. We have learned so much to incorporate into our retirement. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes, from personal finances to photography to self-care, even gardening, and so much more. Invest in yourself and your personal growth like I did. I took a course on video editing with Final Cut Pro on Skillshare.
See monthly favorites videos before. I'll link some of mine in the projects and resources section down below.
For anybody new to creating videos and editing videos, this is the course for you. It teaches you how to create timelines, how to enhance audio, how to color correct. It even teaches you how to organize your files and where to upload them to. It teaches you the basics on transitions and all the little tips and tricks that go into creating a great video. This was a great start for me. If you are interested in exploring the Skillshare library, click on our link in the description box below. The first 1,000 people will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. How great is that?
The next area that we talked about with our real estate agents was the most popular area in the west, São Martinho. Now that comprises the areas of Casabranca, the Lido, Ajuda, Piornes, and Amparo. These are areas you'll hear of lots. They're very sought after, and this is actually where our first apartment was. So it's an area, São Martinho, that we know very well. So there are pros and there are cons. There's so many pros. We understand why this area is so sought after. There's super good services here. The public transportation from this area is excellent, whether you want to head to Old Town or wherever you want to head. The bus system is fantastic from here. You're close to several beaches, several swimming areas, so you do really feel sort of in the heart of it all. The weather down here is beautiful in the west. It's sunny. What our real estate agent shared with us was to buy a T2, and all of the apartments and homes that prices that we're sharing in this video are for a T2. So buying a T2 in pretty good condition in this area, sort of ready to live in, will start at about $380K. And if you're looking for a house, that'll start around $450K in this area. So $380 for an apartment, and it's worth mentioning that there continues to be tons of new builds in this area. The last point that she shared with us about São Martinho is that it is a little less expensive if you want to buy an apartment or house that needs refurbishment, but right now the prices of workers and materials have increased as well, and it's not so easy to find. But there are new builds if you're willing to wait.
And like any area, it also has its cons. It's very populated here. It's a very sought after area. It kind of reminds me of the Parkton and Shows, the Expo area in Lisbon. It's a bit more modern, but this is where all the hotels are for the most part, and there's lots of tourists, and the demand is very high. My my car just started up. The demand is very high, which drives the prices up, and it's mostly apartments as opposed to single family dwellings here.
We lived in this area for over 6 months, and we actually really liked this area.
You do. I mean, it has everything you need. There's lots of little cafes. The course for Madeira shopping is right here, but I can see why it's not for everybody.
Yeah, we liked it because it was for dog walking. We found it really nice walking Leo here. There's lots of sidewalks, there's places to walk. However, when it's high tourist season, walking among tourists with a dog wasn't the greatest either.
No. And there, like Monique said earlier, there's lots of new builds going on, so there's construction everywhere. And I mean big construction sites for big buildings, multi-building complexes. So you hear jackhammering through stone constantly. You hear the big diesel trucks going by constantly, and when they go over every speed hump, they rattle and shake. And I know when we stayed at Fort Madeira for the first 6 months, the windows were a bit old. They had the little slots at the bottom for air, but all the sound comes in. And after a month, I was sleeping with earplugs because it was so loud in this area. And now with all the construction and the trucks backing up and the beeping, it can be a bit crazy.
If you were to move more up to the Casablanca area in São Martinho, more that way, you probably would get away from some of the noise, which would be a good thing if you don't like noise. The other part that we really like about living down here is if you don't want to get a car, this is probably an excellent location for you because, like I said about the bus services, and it's the walkability it's here. You can walk anywhere out for dinner to a fancy restaurant and do your groceries and head to the mall. So lots of real positive things about this area, but this is the area where you pay the higher prices.
You're paying for the ocean access here, and you're paying for a lot more flat area to walk.
Now let's head right across to the east to our area, São Gonçalo, including Santa Maria Maior. The last place that we talked about with our real estate agent was São Gonçalo and Santa Maria Maior. And again, there are pros and cons. So the pros is that it's very quiet, it's more residential, and the view from São Gonçalo or Santa Maria Maior is amazing.
It's stunning. I would say it's almost second to none.
I agree. And to buy a T2 in good condition, ready to live in, the prices will start around $280K for an apartment and about $400K for a house.
It's also very close to Pelero Golf, and one of the two main golf courses here on the island. One of the main cons of living in the area, however, is it's not as walkable. It's very much a driving area of Funchal. You need a car. You can take a bus or a Uber type bolt anywhere down into Old Town. You can even walk, but you're not walking back up. If you want to get anywhere around here to groceries or shops, you need a car. There's not a whole lot of sidewalks around here.
So those are the 4 areas, the north, south, east, and west of Funchal, and the different area names and all the pros and cons that our real estate agent shared with us. I think that there's a place for everyone in Funchal, depending on what you're looking for. If you like the action, choose an area that has more action. If you like the quiet, choose an area that has more quiet. But it's important to know what areas are drivable, what areas are walkable, and what would make sense for you. Our real estate team that we work with, they are a dynamic duo. They're a husband and wife team, and they are fantastic to work with. They speak English and are just a pleasure.
Coming up in the near future, we're going to be getting into some specific homes in these areas and the different price points in each of these areas. So stay tuned for that.
So as always, please check back in and
track us down.